affairs that are taking place in Guyana, all current affairs. There's a number of things we wanted to touch on this morning. We have been following, for example, the situation in Guyana regarding the relations between the government and the teachers. We've had a number of interviews with one or two analysts out of Guyana speaking about that situation. And I just want to get a sense from you as to what is the position of the opposition in Guyana on that matter.
The opposition in Ghana supports the teachers' union in the quest for better wages, salaries, and working conditions. We have argued consistently that Ghana is now an oil-producing nation. And when you look percentage-wise, teachers are getting less than they got before we found oil. And that is unacceptable. We believe that teachers play a significant role in the society. They are the molders of our children and ultimately the people of Guyana. And therefore, they should be able to benefit in a way that allows them to live a quality life. The reality in Guyana is, though there are oil resources, what is happening is that a lot of those resources are going essentially to the government elite, their friends, their families, and their favorites. And the workers who are actually causing the system to function are not benefiting in the way that they should benefit. And so we are very supportive of the teachers. We believe that they have a just cause. We will continue to support them. It is our hope that the government would have shown some sense of being responsible and engaged the teachers' union properly and sought to, through the process of collective bargaining, arrive at a package that is acceptable to both the government and the teachers in Guyana. Unfortunately, the government seems not to have an interest in dealing with this issue.
Well, I'm reading here online that the position of the government of Guyana is that it would be only open to negotiations for increases for the period of 2024 going forward, but says that there's, quote, no fiscal space to cater for increases for a period 2019 to 2023. What do you think about that position?
Well, it's a ridiculous position. We have shown at one of our press conferences that just taking funds from what we can call the areas of waste can pay not only the teachers, but public servants generally. The government's approach seems to be that they will focus heavily on infrastructure. And we believe they do that because infrastructure allows them the opportunity to be involved in high levels of corruption. That will, of course, benefit a small group. But if the government is serious, there are many areas that the government can find fiscal space to pay teachers. We have seen some areas, we've shown some areas that you can remove money from and put it to the teachers and give them the wages and salaries they need. If you see, for instance, the amount of money they spend on snacks, etc., you will see that it's a kind of a gravy train rather than a serious attempt to allocate resources in a way that the working people in Ghana can benefit. There are a lot of areas that they can take money from. There are many projects that they have budgeted for that are not coming off, cannot come off because of their incompetence, and they can allocate funds. And mind you, this is a government that gives a budget of 1 billion plus. And then immediately after, they come for supplementary funding. If they really want to finance the teachers, they can come for supplementary funding, but they seem to only want to come for that kind of funding when it offers them the opportunity to get into the kitty and to enrich themselves at the expense of the people of Guyana.
Well, it's 6:58 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda. We're going to pause very briefly, and when we return, we're going to continue with the opposition leader of Guyana, the Honorable Aubrey Norton. Stay with us.
Ibis, where you go?
Barbuda Caravana.
When?
Which weekend? Thursday, May 16th, 1:30 p.m. Opening parade and ceremony. 8 p.m. that same night, Mr. and Miss Teenage pageant. The 17th of May, 8:30 p.m. Caravana Cultural Swimwear pageant. Yes, swimwear, my dear. After party at Purple Haze Club. You see, Saturday the 18th of May, 10 a.m. until Caravana Beach Day, which includes the Johnny D'Souza Fishing Tournament and the All-Star Show. If you name any with the A, lots of fun for the entire family. And you see Sunday the 19th, 1 p.m. Caravana Classic Horse Racing at Coronation Park. And then 8 o'clock tonight, Caravana Calypso and Soca Boda competition. Monday, the 20th of May, Juve Marina. How you mean Juve? From 4 a.m., 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. that same night. Last lap, me ready. Barbuda Caravana. Culture and rhythm to explore Barbuda's Caravana 2024.
If you want children to behave, teach them. For them to walk in the right way, teach them. And the best way to lead is by example. Do it right, and they will follow you. So if children misbehave, don't first punish, investigate. When children don't know the right way, teach them. Count with me, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before you blow your top, count and cool down. Connect before you correct. Listen, think, respond respectfully.
Practice positive discipline today. It works.
So if children misbehave, don't first punish, investigate. When children don't know the right way, teach them.
This message is brought to you by the government of Antigua and Barbuda in partnership with UNICEF.
Ahoy party pirates! Get ready for an unbelievable night of energy. It's time for the Heineken Party Nautical Edition. I feel like I'm running down again. Mark your calendars for April 27th and drop anchors at Lucky Eddie's from 10 p.m. until. Ladies, you party for free. And guys, the admission is only $25. Only $25. Get ready to dance the night away to the music of 3-Cylinder Band and Claudette C.P. Peter. Manning the wheels of steel are the hottest DJs in town. DJ Quick, DJ John, Rhythm Master, The Spaniard, and hosted by the one and only Kenny D. This event is powered by Angel Jose, the distributor of Heineken Pure Malt Lager Beer. So join us for a night of fun, music, and Heineken at the Heineken Party.
Are you ready to paint? Casada Paints and Supplies Inc. is the perfect place to start. We are the official distributors of Sherwin-Williams Paints. Sherwin-Williams, with over 150 years of innovation and experience, offers more than 1,500 paint colors to choose from. Our color palettes are handpicked by professional designers, making it easy to coordinate colors throughout your home or business. Visit us on the Utility Drive, Casada Gardens, or call 562-9450. All you have to do is visit or call Casada Paints.
Get ready to ignite your senses in Antigua and Barbuda's Restaurant Week, the food and art experience kickoff celebration. Join us on Sunday, May 5th from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Dow's Hill Interpretation Center. Dive into an elevated food fair immersed with local art, tapas-style tastings from participating restaurants, specialty vendors, and our Eat Like a Local Village. Entrance fee is only $60 EC and includes a complimentary food passport, welcome cocktail, live entertainment, and so much more. A children's area is available, so bring the entire family. Get your tickets on the ticketing app or at the Antigua Barbuda Tourism Authority. Visit AntiguaBarbudaRestaurantWeek.com for more details.
This hour is brought to you by West Indies Oil Company Limited. Check out West Indies Oil's new website at www.westindiesoil.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at West Indies Oil Company Limited.
7:03 8:03 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda. This is your wake-up call presented here on Twin Island Media 94.1 FM. My name is Kieran Murdoch. I'm going to be in your company this morning. Today is April 18th, 2024. It's a Thursday. The week is almost over, but we still have a little bit more to go. And our conversation continues with the leader of the opposition in Guyana, the Honorable Aubrey Norton. We spoke a bit about the relations between the government and the teachers in Guyana, something we've been following for quite a while. I want to switch gears now to talk about the situation between Guyana and Venezuela. There's been some movement very recently within the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think actually I should say that there's continuous actions and incidents in this ongoing dispute between Guyana and Venezuela. Just taking a look at a Loop News story here from April 16th, says the United Nations Security Council has expressed concern about the possible escalation of tensions between Guyana and Venezuela as the two countries continue to claim ownership of the Essequibo region. The dispute over the region, which is approximately 160,000 square kilometers of densely forested land that constitutes 2/3 of Guyana's territory and is home to roughly 125,000 of its 800,000 citizens, stretches back to the 19th century. So that's how far back the dispute goes. And we've covered this issue on this program and gone into the history of it. Mr. Norton, my question for you this morning is whether or not you think that the current actions being taken by Venezuela, and I'll just for our listeners' benefit, I'll say that they would have passed a piece of legislation in their parliament to essentially lay ownership, create a state in a part of Guyana, which is the Essequibo, which is the part that they are laying claim to. Do you see this action by Venezuela as something that's going to be continuous in terms of continuing to escalate the situation, or do you dismiss it as bluster?
Well, I wouldn't dismiss it. What I would say is that historically, Venezuela has made a spurious claim to Guyana's territory, and Venezuela continues to be aggressive. It is the task of the Guyana government to ensure it develops a strategy to keep Venezuela at bay. We in the opposition support the government on this question of the Guyana-Venezuela territorial controversy because we do believe that the arbitral award of 1899 settled the issue. Our concern is that the government is into what I've been calling parachute diplomacy, rather than having a proper diplomatic effort to keep Venezuela at bay. The president seems to believe he can parachute into a country or into a meeting and get the support. Those who follow and know diplomacy, they would know that you have to, in a very structured way, engage diplomats all across the world, ensure that they are aware of your position, and continuously keep this issue of Venezuelan aggression on the front burner. Additionally, we had proposed that the government should establish a national border commission, which they refused to do. The purpose of that really was for it to involve both government and opposition, so there's a united front. And that when we move forward, having discussed, agreed, and worked out the way forward. For instance, we recommended that very critical to this issue is people in the world knowledge of it. In that regard, we had recommended to the government that they post advertisement in newspaper, pay for radio advertisement, especially in Latin America and the Caribbean, so that the people in Latin America and the Caribbean understand the issue and willing to give the support. Now, Guyana is now an oil-producing country, and there's always an economic element to diplomacy. One would have thought that the government would have hurtled to develop a foreign policy based on the oil resources we have, which can serve as developing links with Latin America and the Caribbean, and therefore undercutting Venezuela. In fact, what we have allowed is Venezuela to penetrate certain Caribbean countries, developing relations with them, and therefore placing the relationship on a kind of tenterhook. We believe that essentially there should be a structured approach to foreign policy in which we consistently keep the matter in view at all international fora and mobilize the support of governments and peoples of Latin America and the Caribbean and further afield, so that the pressure is built on Venezuela so that they want to attenuate rather than to accentuate their aggression. I believe essentially that once you give Venezuela scope, it will become aggressive. One also has to factor in the internal situation in Venezuela. The Maduro government is clearly under pressure, and it is a common thing in foreign policy that one of the things a government does is to escalate international conflict to deflect from local problems. And that would mean that while we don't become involved in the internal affairs of Venezuela, we should have information out there in Spanish so that Venezuelans also understand Guyana's position. I encountered a few Venezuelans who never heard of the Arbitral Award of 1899. And it is remiss of us not to have the kind of PR program to ensure that not only Venezuelans, but the entire Latin America and the Caribbean are aware of the facts as they relate to the Guyana-Venezuela territorial controversy, and put it in such a way that it can develop the support we need to keep Venezuela at bay diplomatically and otherwise.
Well, I am wondering where you see this going in terms of what is taking place in Venezuela regarding the politics of Venezuela. Obviously, they have an election upcoming. And you would have just mentioned that, of course, it is the tendency sometimes in a domestic political space to try and escalate something external in order to draw attention away from perhaps domestic deficiencies. Do you think that perhaps once Venezuela has a new government, regardless of whether that government is Maduro re-elected or a new administration, however it works out, do you think that there will be less tension over this matter between Guyana and Venezuela?
I think there will be less tension, though I do not believe the matter will go away. You are aware that the matter is before the International Court of Justice. Venezuela, which had decided that they wouldn't participate, recently submitted their documentation. So that's a movement in the right direction in the sense that Venezuela is now party to what is going on in the International Court of Justice. It is difficult to say that a change in government in Venezuela will attenuate, reduce the tension. Why do I say that? I say that because consecutive Venezuelan governments over the years have spread this view and this spurious claim about Guyana. And therefore, it is not easy for them just by the change of a government to come off this high horse that they're on. It demands, like I said, work from us in terms of sensitizing the people of Venezuela and the people of Latin America and the Caribbean. It also demands that some amount of internal stability comes to Venezuela so that Venezuela doesn't see the need to use an external matter to mobilize international support. And then it is also dependent on how Guyana engage its allies in Latin America and the Caribbean and further afield, the United States, Cuba, etc. Because look, Venezuela is aggressive. We have borders with Brazil. Brazil is a critical nation in dealing with this issue. And one of the reasons that Brazil is critical is that there are many countries, I think 9 of them, that border Brazil. And therefore, from a natural geographical standpoint, Brazil cannot afford or will not want to afford territorial controversies because of the nature of the society. In that regard, therefore, I think we need to be doing much more with Brazil to ensure that Brazil continues to be a counterbalance while at the same time mobilizing international support, we don't have any control over the domestic politics of Venezuela. And therefore, I wouldn't venture there except to say, we hope that it improves to the point where there is no need for Venezuela to use an external aggressive approach to achieve internal objectives.
It's 7:13 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda. We're speaking to the leader of the opposition in Guyana, the Honorable Aubrey Norton. We're going to take another quick break. I just want to let you know before we do that the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024 is being hosted in the West Indies and the USA and will be the 9th edition of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. This promises to be the biggest carnival of cricket that the world has ever seen. The Out of This World Trophy Tour is happening now on Ireland. The trophy makes its way through St. John's today and heads to the famous ARG starting at 4 p.m. Remember to look out for the bat and to look out as the trophy passes your way and join the party at ARG.
This hour is brought to you by West Indies Oil Company Limited.
Fuel up today at one of West Indies Oil's 14 service stations, strategically located across Antigua and one in Barbuda. Quality service is guaranteed any day of the week.
Later, hun, gonna catch me some fish.
You better not walk out that door. You're not going fishing this weekend. If you walk out that door, I am breaking up with you.
Well, I'm gonna miss her. Calling all sports fishing anglers and supporters. The 56th annual Antigua and Barbuda Sports Fishing Tournament is back and will take place on May 16th to 19th at the Falmouth Harbor Marina. Register on our website, AntiguaandBarbudaSportsFishing.com, and enter for your chance to win multiple cash prizes for largest blue marlin, largest wahoo, largest tuna, and more. Come out and enjoy a cold drink from the bar. Sample some of the mouth-watering food from any of the vendors and enjoy the view of the daily catch being weighed. You can also purchase your daily caught fish from our fish stall. Visit our social media or our website for more details. Enjoy the fishing. Enjoy the lime.
Maybe it's time to explore your options. There's no harm in reviewing your mortgage arrangement and considering a better deal. CIBC Caribbean can help you narrow your search and decide. Switch your mortgage to CIBC Caribbean and enjoy a special interest rate and help towards your switching cost. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/inspired home for more information. Conditions apply.
Did you hear that sonic boom? That's automotive art shaking the universe. Your mission, should you accept, is to enter the automotive art cosmos and enjoy the best limitless deals and best prices on the island. We're transcending to higher levels of customer service and bringing with us an explosive variety of tires, batteries, oils, paints, and accessories to new parts of the galaxy. But don't just take our word for it. Enter our stores on Old Marin Road and see for yourself. Open Monday to Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
This segment is sponsored by Casada Paints and Supplies Incorporated, the official distributors of Sherwin-Williams Paints.
Are you ready to paint? Casada Paints and Supplies Inc. is the perfect place to start. We are the official distributors of Sherwin-Williams Paints. Sherwin-Williams, with over 150 years of innovation and experience, offers more than 1,500 paint colors to choose from. Our color palettes are handpicked by professional designers, making it easy to coordinate colors throughout your home or business. Visit us on the Utility Drive, Casada Gardens, or call 562-9450. All you have to do is visit or call Casada Paints.
It is 7:17 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda. This is your wake-up call, presented here on Tune Island Media 94.1 FM. My name is Kieran Murdoch. I'm going to be in your company this morning, and we're speaking to the Honorable Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition in Guyana. We're going to switch gears a little bit once again. I want to ask about Guyana's current situation with the power outages. I read a story during the news top-up that seemed to indicate that these outages have been a concern for some time, and that the government of Guyana has sought some assistance from Cuba. I'm actually reading an opinion piece here online on Starbrook News in which the writer expresses some skepticism as to whether or not Cuba, being that it has had its own electricity problems for so long, is really going to be in a position to really assist Guyana in this regard. So my questions to you would be, what's your position on this assistance coming from Cuba, number one? And number two, why is Guyana in this position in the first place with the power outages?
When we came to government in 2015, Guyana was experiencing a lot of blackouts. We immediately changed the management of the power company. We brought a Jamaican who was very competent, and blackouts were becoming a thing of the past. We were increasing generation capacity, and we had developed a 5-year plan to ensure that we have the generation capacity and that we develop and solve the problems in transmission so that we can reduce blackouts. The government comes to power, removes the manager, the general manager, who was doing an excellent job, fired many of the well-trained technical people who are now working in the Caribbean. We were importing brand new generators. They changed and they began to import second-hand generators, many of which have problems when they arrive here. So at the same time, you're experiencing significant development because of oil, which means almost axiomatically that you are going to increase the need for power. The government did not have a plan, and therefore they did not continue with the plan we had, which would have ensured we have enough generation capacity by now. They having not continued the plan, not bring to Guyana new equipment, instead bringing old equipment, a lot of which are generating problems. They now find themselves where they are in a problem. One, their incompetence have led us here. Secondly, their politicizing of everything in this country would have generated that problem, because had they keep the staff with the technical competence, I gather the government is now trying to get some of them to come back from the Caribbean, having refused to give them the wages and salary they needed and fire some of them. So the government has created the conditions for the blackouts that would have occurred. Now, I would not focus very much on Cuba, because I think the government is desperate, and so they are seeking assistance from anywhere. I do not know of the technical competence of Cuba in these areas. We know, for instance, if it was medical, I would have had no problem at all. But there must be question marks raised about the competence of Cuba at this stage to provide what is needed. And unless the government is prepared to have a proper plan, proper management, and depoliticize the activities, our power situation will not change. It's a manifestation also of the corruption in Guyana. I do not believe that they just changed from buying the new sets we were purchasing to bring in old used sets. It's just a question of money. It offers the opportunity for corruption. And this government, if you follow the international organization, is rated as one of the most corrupt governments in the world. And so a lot of what they do are not focused on the people of Guyana I call them a transactionalist government. They are involved in transactions that will redound to their individual benefits rather than to the people of Guyana. So though they have resorted to Cuba, I do not believe the focus should be on Cuba. The focus really should be on the incompetence of the government, the politicization of the process, and the vindictiveness of the government that caused them to remove competent people who could run the Ghana Power and Light here in Guyana.
Well, let me ask you very quickly before we move off of this topic. Would you think that your party that was in power before should take any responsibility for this situation? I mean, from what I'm hearing, you're not necessarily saying that it was resolved. You're saying there was a plan in place, but you're not necessarily saying that it was resolved. Like, we put a stop to this issue of power outages while we were in power.
Yes, when we were in power, up until the last days we were in power, blackouts were becoming a thing of the past. Look, you could not have solved all of it right away, because it's not just generation, it's also transmission, which we were dealing with. But what I'm saying is that there was a plan there that would have ensured we had the generation capacity, and had the government either continue the plan or put into place a similar plan, we would not have had the problem that we are having now. And I say this because what would explain you having oil wealth and you are opting for all generation sets? You're opting for some barge from Cuba, a barge from Turkey, when you have the capacity to purchase new equipment and ensure that the grid is serviced so that you get the kind of service you need out of it. The only thing that explains it is the level of corruption this government is involved in.
Interesting. It's 7:24 a.m. Let's switch gears a little bit one more time. I want to talk about the politics of Guyana and also the upcoming elections. To my understanding, the elections would be constitutionally due sometime around December of 2025. I want to get your sense of where you believe your party is in opposition right now, and what you believe that will be the key issues going into that election. Take it away.
The key issues are, first of all, we need a clean voters list. Guyana has a population of 750,000 people by the last estimates. The voters list at present is 708,000 persons. Now, the Ministry of Education contention is that children are 200,000 to 250,000. If you have 200 children, then the maximum that list can be, if everybody registers, is 550,000. Now you have a list that is virtually the size of the population. It follows ipso facto that the list has to be a padded list. The people who die overseas cannot be removed. Unless there is a new clean voters list, elections in Ghana will be in problem. And we said, in addition to a clean voters list, there is need for biometrics so that impersonation is removed. The last election, we had a recount, and that recount established that thousands of Guyanese who were overseas and not here were voted. Many Guyanese who died and were still on the voters list voted. In the recent local government election, Vice President Jack Deo had to apologize because on their list that they put up, somebody who died signed as supporting them. And so one sees that the government is inclined towards rigging the elections. So the first issues to be dealt with is the question of the voters list and biometrics. In terms of preparation for the elections, we have been in continuous preparation mode. When I became leader of the party, one of the things I committed to was to be on the ground all the time, keep mobilizing and organizing the people of Guyana. And we continue to do that. And it's for that reason we believe that we will win the next election, especially if we get a clean voters list and biometrics. We also see the government is seeking to import foreigners that are Indians from Sri Lanka, from Bangladesh. All of these we see as attempts to ensure that they pad the voters list so that they can win. They are well aware that they have lost ground even in their traditional strongholds, and that many people who supported them will not support them. And we believe there's a concerted effort to bring elections early so that they don't have to change the voters list, and it allows them the opportunity to get into government illegally. We will continue to act to ensure that we get a clean voters list, while at the same time preparing for elections. We are in the process of continuous organization of our support base, penetrating into the opposition PPP base, so that we are well prepared when elections are called, whenever they are called.
All right, it is 7:30 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda. This is your wake-up call, presented here on Twin Island Media 94.1 FM. We're going to take one more break. Just before we do, I want to let you know that the APUA Mobile Payment Center, today, Thursday, 18th of April, 2024, is going to be located at the Bailey's Supermarket in Falmouth. Yeah, Bailey's Supermarket in Falmouth, between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Services include the payment of all utility bills and iNet services, including top-ups. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Twin Island Media 94.1 FM, streaming on Facebook, TuneIn app, or simply radio app.
This hour is brought to you by West Indies Oil Company Limited. Check out West Indies Oil's new website at www.westindiesoil.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at West Indies Oil Company Limited.
Do you want to reduce your energy costs while also helping the environment? Well, now you can do both with ECAB's new Green Energy Loan. Power your home with clean, renewable solar electricity, all while enjoying affordable financing options. Take advantage of our Green Energy Loan offer of up to $135,000 to create your solar-powered home. Say goodbye to those hefty energy bills and hello to savings. Have a mortgage elsewhere? No problem. You too can qualify. Call us at 480-6186 or email info@ecabank.com to begin saving the green way. Visit our website at ecabank.com for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank, our future, our bank.
Ground control, come in. It's the space station. We have an unidentified object for review. Over.
Go ahead, space station.
It seems to be.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead, space station.
Okay, I've made my decision. It's a cricket ball.
Oh, what?
6. What a shot. You big it. Out of the park and into the sky.
The ICC Men's T20 World Cup.
It's out of this world.
Buy your tickets now from tickets.t20worldcup.com.
Ahoy, party pirates! Get ready for an unbelievable night of energy. It's time for the Heineken Party, Nautical Edition. I feel like I'm running down again. Mark your calendars for April 27th and drop anchors at Lucky Eddie's from 10 p.m. until. Ladies, you party for free. And guys, the admission is only $25. Only $25. Get ready to dance the night away to the music of 3-Cylinder Band and Claudette C.P. Peter. Manning the wheels of steel are the hottest DJs in town. DJ Quick, DJ Jive, Rhythm Master, The Spaniard, and hosted by the one and only Kenny T. This event is powered by Angel Wholesale, the distributor of Heineken Pure Malt Lager Beer. So join us for a night of fun, music, and Heineken at the Heineken Party.
This segment is sponsored by Casada Paints and Supplies Incorporated, the official distributors of Sherwin-Williams Paints.
7:32 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda. This is your wake-up call here on Twin Island Media 94.1 FM. My name is Kieran Murdoch, and our guest up until 7:45 is the Honorable Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition in Guyana. Mr. Norton, when we just spoke about the electoral situation in Guyana and, of course, the politics of Guyana leading into the next constitutionally due election, which is in December of 2025, you would have made a very strong statement there where you said that you believe that the current government of Guyana may be inclined to rig the elections. Those are the same sorts of statements that were made in the aftermath of the 2020 elections in Guyana, where the APNU AFC government was, heavily criticized for what was seen to be a number of fraudulent actions in regards to the election. I'm looking here. Bruce Golding, a former Prime Minister of Jamaica who was present during the election, stated he had, quote, never seen a more transparent attempt to alter the result of an election. Of course, David Granger was the president at the time. You would have replaced him as the leader of the People's National Congress reform. So I suppose the question I'm asking is that you're coming from a political coalition that has come out of office, many would say, with this stain of a lack of transparency in elections. Do you believe that the people of Guyana are inclined to put their confidence in you again with that issue?
I do think the people of Guyana are prepared to put their confidence in us. This present outfit is virtually a totally new outfit. We have been engaging the Guyanese people, talking with them, and as we move around the country, we are getting support. But let's assume all that you said is true. Then that is the reason why we should have a clean voters list and biometrics. Every observer at the last election lamented the need for a clean voters list because of what it portends. This government, when they lost in 2015, called for a clean voters list and biometrics. Once they're in government, they abandon that call. That creates conditions perpetuous to one believing that their intention is to rig the elections. And then when you see the actions they are taking in terms of not paying Guyanese workers, but then turning around to bring Bangladeshis and people from Sri Lanka, one sees clearly the direction that they are heading, because they can afford to pay workers, refuse to pay them, and then we go in the direction. And then let us not forget, with all that was said by Golding before the recount, when the recount actually came, it established clearly that the People's Progressive Party was involved in illegalities. There were 49 boxes that had no supporting documents, just votes for the PPP. The Election Commission chairman said it wouldn't count. And then when the pressure came from external forces, she decided it will count. And so what you have seen really is that the present situation as it relates to the voters list and the electoral process in Guyana, they are teamed with potential for the non-acceptance of the results by any side. And therefore, the solution lies in ensuring that there is a clean voters list, there are biometrics there, and that all and sundry that participate in the elections are satisfied that the conditions for free and fair elections were prepared, and as a natural sequel of that, you are likely to get election which results will be accepted. But if we go down this road of a list so far with 708,000 persons, you are almost from the outset saying you want disputed results.
All right. There's one more issue I wanted to touch on, and that had to do, I think it was also a political issue, and that had to do with, you correct me if I'm wrong, but are there any other elections that are going to be taking place in Guyana prior to any local government or anything like that?
No, no. The next elections that will be, well, there's the two show elections that are coming shortly, which is in the indigenous community. So there's one set, but that is just the indigenous community. After that, there will be the general and regional elections. Local government elections will become due in 2026 because it is every 3 years.
All right. Last issue we can touch on just before we will cap off this segment. Obviously, Guyana is experiencing a massive economic growth. And of course, it is always a concern anytime a country experiences significant economic growth from something like, let's say, oil wealth, to make sure that those resources are able to fully benefit every sector of the society, particularly the marginalized groups, particularly the poor and needy, particularly those who may have found it most difficult in order to uplift themselves. I'd just like to ask you to just offer some commentary from your perspective and your party's perspective on the best way to achieve that, the best way to make sure that all groups are reached and that you are able to, as a nation, maximize on the potential of this oil wealth in order to enhance the lives of everybody in Guyana.
We have said that we will pursue what we call a people-centered development strategy. The fact of the matter is resources from oil are not meeting the people of Guyana. And therefore, there is need for an approach from an economic standpoint that allocates resources in a way that the people will benefit. There are a number of things we have identified that we can do to ensure the people of Guyana benefit. One, we can increase the assistance to bring new people into business and to help finance small businesses. We have said we are going to do what we call a rent-to-own program in which we build houses for the people of Guyana. They pay a rent, and then when they cover the cost, they own that house, because a lot of people in Guyana cannot afford a mortgage. And so even though they might have land, they don't have the ability to build. We also believe that human resource development is the critical thing, and we intend to put a lot of resources into human resource development, including to the University of Guyana, to make it a quality, high quality institution that people in the Caribbean and further field would want to come. We also said that one of the ways we can remove the burden from the parents in schools is to establish a national schools transportation system, in which we had started some work under David Granger's president. So we have a system in which children are taken to school free of cost, because there are a lot of children with ability out there. The parents can't afford it, and so they never get to school. In the places like the Pomeroon River, very, very difficult. We intend to provide boats, etc., so that the children can go to school. Additionally, once the children in school, we also intend to provide at least 2 hot meals per day so that the children get the nutrition they need to be able to focus on their education. Now, we have to develop a complete social network that caters for the vulnerable, the single parent, the unemployed. We have said that we'll develop what we call a 50-50 program, where we will seek to take 50,000 youths and pay them $50,000 as a stipend for them to go to school to get a trade so that they can become useful in the society. So we believe that it is the reallocation of resources in a way that promotes human development, promote social security, while at the same time advancing economic development. That is the kind of program we intend to use to reach the vulnerable, bring them in, and ensure every Guyanese can benefit. Our sole purpose here is to use the resources of Guyana, including oil, to ensure we build a prosperous, inclusive, and just society. That is our vision for where we will take Guyana.
That has strange connotation. No, I know the mic is on. I know the mic is on. I was having a little side studio in the conversation. Mr. Norton, do forgive us. We're having a little side conversation in the studio here. Yes, I take on board everything you just would have mentioned there in regards to the economic situation in Guyana. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. It's 7:43 a.m.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, and of course we look forward to our next engagement.
And I like I've said to you before, I'm always disposed to engaging and meeting the press in any country.
All right, it is 7:43 a.m. in Antigua and Barbuda, folks. We just had a conversation with the leader of the opposition in Guyana, the Honorable Aubrey Norton. We're going to pause for a cause, and when we return, we'll